Today's study is another sutta called the Anta Sutta, the discourse on the ends. Samyutta 22.103, chapter 22, sutta number 103. The theme in this sutta is self-identity in the light of the Four Noble Truths. So this sutta has got only one word. Notice I didn't add in any other prefix because so far I think there are no other suttas by this name. If there are, then we will just add in normally the chapter name of this sutta. Now, you can see here Antā the chapter on ends, sutta 1. Upari means higher or upper, Panasaka means 50, part 1. So this is the last 50, Upari Panasaka. Khandha Sangyutta. So this is the collected sayings on the aggregates, khandha. So we can put the prefix khandha Anta Sutta. That will make it unique. So we know here it is the Anta Sutta from the Khandha Sangyutta. So this is a kind of a system where you use the name already in the sutta to give a unique name to the sutta. So this is very helpful so that we can remember the sutta name, if not sutta number. Okay. Now, what's amazing in this sutta is it is a short sutta. The Buddha will just use one word and then he will kind of like summarize the whole teaching around this one word. So this is what the Buddha has done with the word Anta. Now, some of you who have studied a bit of Pali may have come across this word Anta, and Anta very often is used in the sense of extremes, the two extremes. But Anta also can mean the kind of the breadth of something, the fullness of something, to what extent something covers, the completeness of it even, so to speak. And of course, Anta means the ending of it, ending of something, all right? And another interesting point about the sutta is it only talks about one thing, that is about self-identity, Sakkāya diṭṭhi. And again, those of you who have studied the suttas over many years, you will find this word Sakkāya diṭṭhi very familiar, because this is the first fetter. This is the very first fetter we have to overcome in order to reach the path. It's got to do with the self. Of course, we do not totally understand the nature of non-self with Sakkāya diṭṭhi. Only the Arhat totally understands the nature of non-self. But we have to begin to at least not see the self in certain things, especially in the 5 aggregates. So Sakkāya here refers to the existing bodies. Sat here means existing, Kāya the body. The present body that we have are the 5 aggregates. Okay. So you have this word Sakkāya, this body of 5 aggregates, and then diṭṭhi. So it simply means the view that this body are the 5 aggregates. But it's more than that in terms of explaining it. It means that we have this wrong view that I am one of this. I am the body, or I am my mind. So this is the most very common wrong view. My body is the soul, or my mind is the soul. Most people probably would not say the body is the soul because the body feels pain and the body perishes, you know. So most people would think the mind is the self, which is a wrong view anyway. Or those who are a bit more sophisticated, they will say, oh, the consciousness is the soul, or feeling is the soul, right? And so on. Karma is the soul, and so on. So all these are wrong views, right? So we have to overcome this. In other words, we do not identify with this body, although we say my body or this body is changing every moment. So basically, this is what sutta is about. Okay, let's look at the sutta itself now to remind ourselves of the Buddha's teaching and reflect on it. Let's go down. Okay, there we are. Antā Sutta. Notice the last vowel R has got a macron. This is called a macron. It's a line over the the vowel R. In Pali, we don't say A. A is an English name. We go by sound. So this R, 2 counts, R, okay? This is 1 count, R. In Thai, it's easier to pronounce. They say R, so they use what's called glottal stop, okay? This is R. So this is the long vowel, 2 counts. This is 1 count, right? Antā Sutta. The discourse on the ends, S22.103, originating in Savatthi. We choose. There are these 4 ends. What are the 4? The end that is self-identity, Sakkāya Sakkāya plus Anta. The end that is the arising of self-identity, Sakkāya Samudayanta. Okay. Number 3, the end that is the ending of self-identity, Sakkāya Nirodhanta. Notice in Pali it sounds very nice, but in English there's a repetition of the word end. So you can translate as the end that is the ceasing of self-identity, if you like. But it's all right to have a repetition here. It's not, so it helps you to know the Pali better. The end that is the way leading to the ending of self-identity. Sakkāya Nirodha Gamini Patipadanta. Right? So notice instead of truth, instead of Satya, you have Anta throughout. So in a sense, the word Anta here plays the role of the synonym Satya. Anta here has a sense, as a practical sense of understanding, of realizing it. Of course, there are 4 functions, right? So in the case of the first truth, we have to know what it is, identify it, know it. And then the second one is we let it go, it's craving, right? And the third one is here's the ending, we practice it, and then the path, we follow it, all right? Here, letting go and then following it. So you have the different verbs that go with it. So here you are. This is the what's called the syllabus or the thesis. These are the 4 things the Buddha first mentioned, and then he elaborates on them one by one. All right. So this is the classic sutta structure. First, the teaching is stated, the brief teaching, and then the long teaching is given. So we begin with the end that is self-identity. And what bhikshus is the end that is self-identity? Now, when you hear the word the end that is self-identity, if you just let the meaning sink in, you can also imagine, oh, okay, the ending of self-identity. That's one meaning, right? In other words, we're going to end this wrong view. Another meaning is like when the self-identity begins, where it ends. How do you define it? Okay. So notice the answer to this should be the 5 aggregates of clinging. Not just the 5 aggregates, but the 5 aggregates of clinging. Now, before I explain, let us go through first the rest so that I have all the points to help me explain it to you. What are the 5? What are the 5 aggregates? They are namely the aggregate of clinging, that is form, upapadāna-k. Okay, form. Okay, in fact, you look at just the last words. I've underlined them nicely for you. Okay, form, feeling, perception, formations, consciousness. So the 5 aggregates are the aggregate of clinging, that is feeling. The aggregate of clinging, that is perception. The aggregate of clinging, that is formations. The aggregate of clinging, that is consciousness. Now, arhats have aggregates too, but the word clinging is not used in their case because these aggregates do not bring any clinging to them in their case. To us, we cling to form. We see form, we like nice ones. We push away things we don't like, and then we ignore those we can't make out. Same thing with feelings. There is clinging to it also in the same way. Same thing with perception, how we recall things, how our memory works. And then the same thing with formations, the way karma works in us, our karmic habits. Okay? And consciousness is how our senses work. Eye, nose, tongue, the body, and the mind. Again, we tend to cling to them. There is this, we have this idea, oh, this is me, I, me, my, and so on. So this is something we don't really notice. It happens so naturally. And we don't know this until we get ourselves into some really deep trouble, and then we say, oops, now I see what's going on. So this is where Buddhism comes in very handy as we age, as we grow old. And you begin to realize it as we begin to age, because our body stops obeying us when we grow old. Then we say, okay, where's the eye? Now our body doesn't stay well the way we want it. Our eyesight fails us, our hearing fails us, and we have to take all kinds of medicine, things like that. So we begin to notice all these things, right? And this is where, when you understand the Dhamma well, then you will also age well. You will grow old well, understanding the nature of these things. And maybe you can smile at it, and you are able to be calm and live a healthy, happy life despite your age. At least if you take good care of yourself. Same thing with feelings. You find as we age, all kinds of feelings arise in us, unwanted feelings. So again, we watch this as they are. You know their feelings, and you're not troubled by them. All right. And same thing with perceptions. Our memories come back to us. You find as you age, you find lots of memories of pleasant memories of the past will come back. You tend to remember old friends when they're very young, but now they don't exist anymore. They're very old. And those are your happy memories. So just smile at them. They were a part of you, yes, but it's all over, but you're happy. And even this moon is passing very fast. And then there's the formations, the karma that you create. So do good things, think happy things, do good things, say things which are helpful to people, and you find that way these formations will make you happy and make other people happy. Consciousness is a bit tricky because the senses sometimes work the way things are around you. But then you can be mindful, just look around, and you know there are some things you don't want to look, you look away. Some things are not worth hearing, you turn away, and so on. So you can still take charge of your senses so that your consciousness is happier. So this is one way to, in a sense, practicing letting go of the 5 aggregates, right? If you practice self-identity, then you look at your body and say, oh no, look at my skin, there is a wrinkle, I better go and see the beautician. I get very worried. All right, or somebody might just scream ahead of us, say, what is it? Oh, I got a wrinkle. and then when a feeling comes to you, you feel really bad, and you can't handle it. Oh, some memory comes back again, you're so unhappy about it, right? So because you're attached to it, so just let it go. Basically, tell yourself it's all in the past, it's gone, and all there is just this thought of mine, which also will pass. If that doesn't help, then this place will stop. Picture, maybe think of the Buddha happy, smiling, or just recite Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Even a simple line like that, you recite it, focus on it, the sound, nothing else, just the sound. And it's very helpful if you can't sleep, you just recite this Namo Tassa Bhagavato. It's better than counting sheep, actually. And then before you know it, maybe by the time you finish the 3rd Namo Tassa, you have fallen asleep without knowing it. So this is how we live the present moment, in the sense, by letting go of the self-identity. All right. So 6, this bhikshus is called the end, that is self-identity. So this is the extent to which this self-identity exists, so to speak. And what bhikshus is the end, that is the arising self-identity. How does self-identity arise? Okay, we've got to go to the next section now. Next page. Page below, go down a bit more. Okay, answer. It is this craving that leads to renewed existence or rebirth, accompanied by pleasure and lust, seeking pleasure here and there. That is to say, craving for sense pleasure, craving for existence, craving for non-existence. So these are the three views we often hold generally. Sense pleasures, of course, we want to have more and more of nice things that appear to our ear, nose, tongue, and body. And we want nice sights. We want the computer color to be just perfect, or the TV color to be very nice and bright, and food to taste right, and temperature to be just right, and so on, things like that. Right? Well, there's nothing wrong in living in a comfortable situation. The idea here is not to get so caught up with it that you suffer as a result. That's the meaning here. Craving for existence here means you want to be reborn. You want to have some kind of eternal life, as if that's possible, right? Without knowing exactly what we're wishing for. And thirdly, you may be a philosopher and say, okay, existence is terrible, I don't want to exist. Or you may believe that with death, that everything ends, right? So the extinction, in other words, that's the other extreme. So these are the three kind of wrong views that cause this suffering to arise. This pictures is called the end, that is the arising of self-identity. So if you understand this clearly, then you will start to end suffering. This one way of looking at this. Another way is, these are the ends. This is the extent to which this truth of suffering, second truth of suffering, that is craving, extends. The end, that is the ending of self-identity. 10. And what we choose is the end, that is the ending of self-identity. So this is the truth, the ending. It is the utter fading away and ending of that very craving. Giving it up, letting it go, being free from it, being detached from it. There you are. See, in other words, don't identify with it. Let it come, let it go. You can't stop it, but it's all right. You just let it go. You take it as it is, and you say, okay, I'm letting it go. And that's it. You find it doesn't trouble you. We don't want it to stay. By thinking about it, being angry with it, you are making it stay. So showing loving kindness to it is letting it go in this sense. So this pictures is called the end, that is the ending of self-identity. So notice this sutta is about actually attaining the first stage of sainthood, stream winning. This is how you let go of letting go of self-identity, right? In fact, if you can let go of self-identity, then doubt and attachment to rites and rituals, they quite easily follow. All right, so that's the third one. Now the fourth one, you're already familiar with it. The end, that is the way leading to the ending of self-identity. The way, the path. And what we choose is the end, that is the way leading to the ending of self-identity. It is this very noble eightfold path. That is to say, right view, right thought. Notice, right view, right thought is indented as a set. All right, this is one set. This is the third set, actually. All right. This is the wisdom set. Right view, right thought. And then 3, 4, 5, you have another set. Right speech, right action, right livelihood. This is the moral conduct aspect, practice of body and speech in a wholesome way. In our practical training, 3, 4, 5 comes first. It's the basis of the three trainings. It's to speak rightly, to act rightly, and to earn a living, to support ourselves in accordance with the 5 precepts without hurting anyone, and so on. And the last 3 form right mindfulness or right this mental training. mental training. Right effort, these are mental efforts. Right mindfulness, practice of directing the mind properly towards a meditation object or a mind object, keeping it there. And right concentration, getting that deep peace that brings calm and clarity, which we use to attain liberating wisdom. So these are the Eightfold Path. Sila, 3, 4, 5. Samadhi, 6, 7, 8. Pañca, 1, 2. This brings us the ending of suffering. So these pictures is called the end. That is the way leading to the ending of self-identity. These pictures are the 4 ends. Okay, so there you are. It's a very short sutta, and we finish even before the break here. Okay, right. So let me just explain a few more things here and there. So here we see in the Eightfold Path, right view comes first, right? Some of you may wonder, how come, okay, in the list of 8, you have right view first, but then you have moral conduct, right action, right livelihood, that is the practice of moral training in the middle, and then the last 3 have to do with the mind, okay? Because right view is the most important factor or limb of the Eightfold Path. Right view comes first because right view pervades right thought, it pervades right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Otherwise, it is not right. Okay. For example, right mindfulness. Now, there's a bit of controversy here. I think Abhidhamma says that there's no such thing as wrong mindfulness. There's either mindfulness or no mindfulness. But there's no such statement in the sutta. You can have wrong mindfulness. For example, a tiger focuses on the prey and then jumps on it and eats it up. Okay, so we didn't say that's right mindfulness, right? So some a robber or a murderer may have mindfulness. He knows his prey or her prey, and then he or she attacks this person that she or he doesn't like. So we don't call it right mindfulness, right? That's wrong mindfulness. So there is wrong mindfulness, there is right mindfulness. Mindfulness is not just present moment awareness. It is also simply looking at this, what's going on here, and sometimes what you see comes from the past, and what you see sometimes comes from the future. Okay, this can happen too. For example, when you do Buddha-nusati, you say, okay, you picture the Buddha and you feel so happy, right? So Buddha-nusati actually, the mindfulness is about something from the past that you have learned about the Buddha. So we call that recalling the past, and that helps to keep you focused. You can also focus on the future, right? And this is taught to Rahula in the Maharahula Vada Sutta, for example, where sorry, not Maharahula Vada Sutta, the Ambalatika Rahula Vada Sutta, when Rahula was 7 years old, the Buddha teaches him to be mindful about actions. When he has done an action, to reflect, okay, this action I've done, did I hurt myself? Did I hurt anyone? Did I hurt things around me? If I have, then I should not do it. If I have not, then good, keep it up, right? And this action I'm going to do, okay, this is the one, this action I'm going to do. Will it hurt me? Will it hurt any other people? Will it hurt anything around me? If it will, then I should not act, should not do it. If it is good for all these 3, these 3 purities, it doesn't harm myself, doesn't harm others, doesn't harm the environment, then I can do it. It's a good action. And the same thing with this action that I'm doing now. This is good, this is helping others, helping the environment, right? So in this case, there is future thinking also. So a future kind of mindfulness, if you like, or mindfulness of the future. So mindfulness is not just about present moment awareness. This is the so-called psychological mindfulness kind of shorthand, which is not correct anyway. All right. And mindfulness, of course, has a purpose. You direct your mind to the mind object. Right now, as you are listening to me talk, you direct your ear, or rather your hearing, to me. You listen carefully, or you watch the screen, right? So that's right mindfulness. And then you keep it so. When your mind wanders, you bring it back, right? So there is awareness. There's mindfulness and awareness. Sati sampajanya, sometimes called full awareness. All right. So it's just like you're driving a car. You know how to drive a car, so you're mindfully driving this car. But you also know, okay, there is this old lady going to cross the road, and you slow down, and you know where you're going, where to turn, so you get to your destination. So there is awareness, there is mindfulness, there is awareness. Sati, sampajanya, they go together also, right? So these are helpful things to know in this case, right? And in our training, there is Sila Sikha training in moral virtue comes first, because in a sense, it's the easier training we need to do, because if we do not train, do not discipline our body and speech, it's hard to keep the mind focused. We will think about things, bad things we have done, breaking the precepts and so on. So the precepts about letting go of negative acts regarding the body, not killing, not stealing, not committing sexual misconduct. And then right speech, right? Keeping right speech, telling the truth, saying words which bring people together, saying pleasant words, and saying things which are useful, right? So that is moral conduct. This helps you keep your body and speech healthy as a support for the mind, right? And of course, notice speech mentioned first, and then because normally we communicate with people through speech, and then actions follow. And our livelihood also should be good in the sense that it doesn't break any of the 5 precepts. Now, this is not easy. It is controversial a bit here, because sometimes we have no choice. So we do get jobs which seem to maybe go against the precepts. One special case is I have friends who sometimes work with companies that make weapons and so on. So one way of saying this in Singapore anyway, so long as they do not use these things for actually killing people, to the extent there is no breaking of the precept. But if you know it is used in war and to kill people, then of course you got to think about it, try to see how you can resolve these issues, right? So it's not easy, right? Livelihood, right? You're just select a job that somehow protects humans, that protects life, right? That's the first value. Opposite is killing, first precept against killing. Second, there is the value of happiness, that promotes happiness, which is the precept against stealing. And the third one is protect personal freedom, which is against sexual misconduct. Then there is truth. We should practice or protect the value of truth, which is of course the 4th precept. And the 5th one is the value of wisdom, or the mind, which is to keep the mind clear, so that to keep it from getting drugged and drunk. Okay? So your 5 values, which should not be part of your livelihood. If any of the opposite of the 5 values, that is, if your livelihood violates any of these 5 values, life, happiness, freedom, truth, and wisdom, then you should think carefully how to resolve, how to find a better job, basically, right? And of course, this right view, right thoughts. Right thoughts easy to talk about is how to think with loving kindness, not to be violent, not to think negative thoughts, and to think. The first thought actually is charitable thoughts, thoughts of giving, thoughts of letting go also, in a sense. Because when you give something, you let go of it, you give it. So that is the first part of right thought, the thought of charity, the thought of non-ill will, that's loving kindness, and thought of non-violence. Right view is basically understanding the nature of impermanence. There are the whole list of things here, but if you understand the nature of impermanence, then it all fits in nicely. So that's a quick overview of the Eightfold Path in practice, so that we can learn to let go of self-identity. All right, so I finished this sutta just nice before we take a break, and then we'll come back for the second half of this gathering. Okay, let's get Iksim to take over with the question and answers.
Thank you, Brother Piya. Brother Piya, the first question from Vicky.
Okay.
Brother Piya, is clinging always comes first before craving, or can the both be interchanged?
Okay, actually, craving comes first. Remember, one of the basic defilement of problem is craving, or to be more technical, craving and ignorance. What causes suffering? Craving and ignorance, or ignorance and craving. Because we are ignorant, we don't know what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. So we want this, we want that, and we want the wrong things. All right, so that's craving. And we want more and more of it because we are not satisfied with it. Because we are not satisfied with it, we don't enjoy it, we're not contented, we want more and more. And because of that, we're not really happy. Okay. So craving starts first. Once you crave for something, there is grasping or clinging. Then only you cling to it, right? So clinging comes second, actually. So they kind of overlap, but they don't mean the same thing, all right? They overlap. Craving is tanha. It literally means thirsty. Whereas upadana is like to keep on holding on to it, clinging. All right. Okay. Next question.
Thank you, Brother Piya. There's no question in the chat box at the moment. Yeah, any brother and sister that would like to ask question, you can unmute.
I had a thought the last time, either beginning today probably, and of course in the new year. I would like to invite one of you each time to talk about 5 minutes. You can tell us about your activity, your Dhamma activity, or sutta study, or whatever. Or you can even talk just anything you like about the Dhamma, share with us, so that we kind of have different views. No? I hope you like the idea. Okay. Any questions? Oh, yes, Susie?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, Brother Piya, I have this question. Yeah. Let's say when Sakkāya diṭṭhi is fully understood, that means we know that there's this no permanent self, right?
Okay.
So if that is the case, means this person will not have any more ego or mana, right? The conceit is not more there.
Yeah.
But then the mana is actually one of the last factors ERS, in becoming arahant.
Yeah, correct.
So how come they are not together being cut off?
Yes. Okay. Very, very interesting question. Not easy to answer. You have to look at what I call the 10 fetters. Okay. So the first 3 fetters are Sakkāya diṭṭhi, doubt, and then attachment to rituals and vows. The last 2 sometimes mix around. So, whereas mana is one of the higher fetters, only the arhat overcome it. Because mana or conceit is very tricky. We all have conceit. In fact, everyone that you meet from the moment you leave this place afterwards has some level of conceit. Even you and I have some level of conceit. How is that? The moment we look at someone, we measure that person. We say, oh, is this person worth talking to? What kind of person is this? You know, right? We are like that. Of course, we're not Buddha. Where's the Buddha? Anyone can come to him and talk to him, even the crazy person. Because the Buddha is very calm and he's got this really great mind. And we tend to measure people. Why? Because we have suffered before and we don't want to suffer again. So we say, oh no, I'm not going to talk to this kind of people. And in certain societies like Singapore and urban Malaysia, you have this class idea. Is it worth my time talking to you? How much money do I get talking to you, right? Do you have a title, you know? How much money do you earn? When I first came to Singapore, one lawyer Buddhist asked me, how many room flat do you live in? I was not sure at that time what's going on. Later, my Singapore friend was laughing and telling me, oh, he's sizing you up. He wants to know how much money you have and whether you can be his client. So ask how many room flat do you have? So if you stay a 2-room flat, oh, suddenly there'll be silence. He won't talk to you anymore. If you say 5-room flat, I'll say, oh, it's very interesting. Okay, can I have your name? Do you have a name card? So that is Singapore. We measure people, how much are you worth, you see? But we've got to be very careful. Even in Buddhist societies, you have this kind of attitude, and it'd be very sad if that happens. So that's mana, see, measuring people. And we don't even know this, you know, it's there. So in fact, it's very hard to get rid of this. But self-identity is this idea, I am not my body. I'm not my eye or ear or nose or tongue or body or mind, right? Letting that go. Now, having said that, it's not quite simple to know. Right? I can tell you, oh, I know a lot. I've been talking about this. I even say fully understand this, but I don't think I'm a stream winner yet, see? But understanding it is good. You're more likely not to make the mistakes that the opposite person will. So we are talking not about just knowing here. We're talking about a realization that it is deep inside you. Your life changes as a result of this. And I can tell you, as you age, if you keep on studying Buddhism, you will see how it helps you when your body doesn't work for you. Because we expect our body, oh, I'm very healthy, I'm strong. And suddenly you find you can't do this, you can't do that. And then you begin to know what it's like when you don't have those abilities. That's when all this knowledge helps. All right. Another thing is, there's a story of this Suba Theri, this beautiful nun called Suba. She became a nun, but she likes to live alone in this beautiful forest. And this young man comes along, and an old boyfriend, and decides to, you know, talk to her because they're all alone there. And then he got mischievous. He was a bit drunk, I think. He says, "Oh, you're so beautiful. You know, why do you want to be a nun? Why don't you come with me, have some fun, and so on?" To cut the long story short, this nun, Suba, she told this boy, this young man, said, "No, look, come on, I'm not that kind of person, you know, I'm a renunciant." But he insists, and he was a bit nasty, on the verge of violence, if you like. So at the climax of the story, this boy tells the nun, "Oh, you know, you got such beautiful eyes." So the nun plucked out her left eye and gave it to this boy. Now imagine if someone does that, you'd be shocked by it, right? So how she could actually pluck out the eye, all right? Of course, this is a story, right? So when this young man saw the eye, she was so shocked, he was speechless, couldn't say anything anymore. He really had to run away. Because he said, wow, this is no ordinary person, true enough. Now, the psychological meaning of this story is you cannot love a part of a person. You cannot say, oh, I only like your eyes or your nose or ears, right? So this is the other side of it, you see. We cannot be attached to just one part of the body, right? All this will change, okay? And separately, they will not be meaningful, in other words. So our life works, everything works together, and that gives meaning to our life, okay? And also to make our life, to add value to our life, is to direct all our energies in the Dharma, so that we understand things better and we're able to also share this understanding and joy with others. Okay, so the stream winner is the first step in the path by overcoming this idea of Sakkāya diṭṭhi, that is this idea of self-identity view or personality view. Okay, but there's still a bit of mana conceit there. Okay. All right. So I hope that's helpful. Any other question?
Thank you, Brother Piya. Satisfies. No, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Brother Piya. There is no question in the chat box now.
If there's no question, anybody like to have your 5 minutes, share with us a bit of your Dhamma activity wherever you are, or tell us something about your Buddhist practice, if you can. Anyone? Because you all are from different places, so very nice to hear, coming from different places, how you all live the Dhamma practice. Otherwise, if I have, with your permission, perhaps Charles, would you like to share a bit? I mean, just it's a relaxed kind of feedback, nothing special. And I've talked with you before, so I think it's very nice if you can share a bit. Charles, bachelor is from New England, right?
Yes, I'm from the state of Connecticut in the United States. I'm in the last years of my life, so I've had some history pursuing the Dhamma, and living here in the United States, there's not a lot of opportunities close at hand, but I've gone through practicing Zen and practicing what they call over here insight meditation, which is Vipassana. Spent quite a bit of time doing that because there's a center not too far from me in Barre, Massachusetts.
This is Barre, Massachusetts? Is it Barre, B-A-R-R-E, is that?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's a great place.
Joseph Goldstein, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And but as it's taught here, there's not a lot of there's a lot of focus on Vipassana and heavy duty meditation. There's retreats where you meditate like 10, 12 hours a day. And but I felt something was missing, and so I started pursuing reading the suttas myself, and I found great value in doing that. I really started doing it at a retreat, Vipassana retreat, and one of the rules is you can't bring any reading materials. They want you just to meditate, nothing else. I snuck in. I brought a copy of Bhikkhu Bodhi's Oh, it's a collection of suttas. I can't quite remember the name right now, but
Anguttara Nikaya, numerical sayings, is it?
what is it?
Numerical, is it numerical sayings?
No, it's a collection of it's something like what the Buddha taught or what the Buddha said, something like that. Yeah, so it's a collection from all the Nikayas.
Yes.
And I was having a lot of difficulty meditating. I would try to follow their instructions to just note everything that arises. And my mind was kind of rebelling and refusing, like this is so boring. And so I would fall asleep. It didn't matter whether I got a good night's sleep or not. When I would sit, within 15 minutes, I would be falling asleep, just nodding off. And
you're very lucky.
So it was a very troublesome to me. But I was every evening I would read, some of the suttas in this collection of Bhikkhu Bodhis. And I was reading the Anapanasati Sutta and his comments on it. And so I thought, this noting isn't really working for me. I think I'll try this Anapanasati thing. And it just changed everything. And the rest of my retreat was wonderful. And ever since then, that's been my primary way of meditating. It was like a breakthrough for me. So more and more my practice has been centered on what the Buddha taught, what's in the suttas.
So the suttas helped you.
Oh, it was like transforming. I don't know why these centers don't focus on the real teachings of the Buddha and the suttas. It's like that practice here in the United States anyway, is almost completely, remote from the actual teachings of the Buddha, because I guess I've talked to other people and they don't think it's modern, it's not psychological and it's not modern and it doesn't speak to, the kind of suffering we have in our lives.
No, they didn't go deep enough into the suttas, that's why. I mean, if you go deep enough into the sutta, you'll see the psychology of it. And again, it depends on which sutta you study, okay?
Yeah, but it's not the psychology of gaining friends and influencing people and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
And and people seem to here want magazine kind of dharma, I guess I could call it. But I have a nice group that we meet once a week on Wednesdays, and we go through the sutras. We've been doing it for years now.
Oh,
and that's like a light in the darkness, to have friends that have the same kind of inclination as you do. And that's why I'm so delighted to have found this group every other Friday. I feel like I've found my own tribe, you know what I mean?
Yes, we are a tribe in a sense. We are the Sutta tribe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm very happy to know about this. Yes, this Vipassana practice is definitely not easy to do. It's really it's a wonderful practice if you are up to it. I know many friends who just love meditating. After all these years with Buddhism, I think there are people who are naturally inclined to meditation, and there are those who are not, who just simply can't do it. So don't worry if you can't meditate. Mindfulness can be done in many different ways. All right. If you can do loving kindness meditation, you can do loving kindness, for example. I mean, you can do mindfulness, for example. So if you can't sit 10 hours a day, it's all right. I mean, it's not a marathon thing. If you can sit 10 hours a day, that's wonderful too. So I keep on practicing it in the proper way, and make sure you have lots of loving kindness too. Okay, so you got to balance your practice, in other words. I have a few friends who are heavy duty Vipassana practitioners, and they know what I teach, and so if they still talk to me, so I know that they kind of balance their practice. And if they come to me for advice, I always tell them, if you can't sit that long, even the first day, don't worry. You just relax, practice what you have learned and what can help you to meditate, and learn to discover what is it in Buddhism that brings you joy. That is where your practice lies. What brings you joy in the Dhamma, right? Some people, for example, they enjoy meeting other Buddhists and talking to them, right? I often say, I mean, if you're a young person and you don't feel like meditating, talk to the old people, because they're losing friends and becoming more lonely and their eyesight is failing. So if you talk to them, they'll be very happy. And you talk what you know about the Dharma, I mean, and learn to listen to them. That's one way you're doing wonderful work too. You are actually practicing Buddhism. So Buddhism is not just sitting, meditating the way we do today. It's also doing things with people and to make them happy, bring goodness, joy out of them. So find out where your source of joy is. That's where you should practice the Dharma. All right. And then you find then the suttas will naturally come in to help you along the way, to make you understand your work better, to give you the energy, the idea, the inspiration, and of course the tools to help other people. You may not be a sutta expert, but you can introduce suttas to others. They will learn and say, oh wow, I didn't know there is such a sutta. Okay, before I go on talking, are there any other questions? Exam?
Brother Piya, no question?
No questions, huh?
Yeah.
Anyone want to ask a question now? We have about 5 minutes more. We have now got down to stopping at 9:30 so that I can rest earlier. I'm writing a very interesting essay now. It's on Mara. So it's something I plan to do for quite some time. So this is in volume 60, let me see, 60 or 61. Anyway, I think 61.8. I usually begin with the long essays first. I prepared the notes for quite some years now, so it's very interesting. And I'm fortunate to have someone who is a professional copywriter to check for me, proofread it. So and we discuss as we proofread it, you know. So this is on my part. Right, okay, any questions? 4 more minutes. Well, New Year's coming. My advice is don't make any new resolutions. Look back at last year's resolutions and work on those last year's resolutions and try to see what you can do. I mean, you know, one thing I notice as we age, time really flies. Suddenly it's already 9 p.m., you know, and so I told myself, wow, you know, it's because we know things, you know, human beings, we know things. We know we will die, things like that. So when we know things and we suffer on account of that understanding, that knowledge. Animals, they just live day to day, they don't think about it, and suddenly zap, they're gone, you know. So that's the other kind of life. So there's no awakening there. So there's only awakening when you think, you see suffering, and you know what's going to happen, and you try to make your life worthwhile. Right? So that's what we're trying to do here. We want to be happy, share this happiness with others too. Okay, let's get a family photo now. You have a last minute. Any last minute question? If not, we will close here.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Ratna has prepared a new syllabus for the first half of the year. And although I prefer short suttas, she suggested some long suttas because they're very interesting. So we have quite a selection, new suttas for next year. So do keep in touch as the new year dawns. And as I said, I'm very happy to be with you all these years. And next year is going to make the 3rd year, right? This study on our own, that is. Okay. Of course, if you add 2 more years with the SKE, that makes it, wow, 4 years. Amazing, time flies. Huh? All right. So once again, let us recall to mind how we have sacrificed some time today to make it quality time to spend with ourselves, just as we feel like it, with something we treasure so deeply that goes back 2,500 years to the Buddha himself. We have recited the precepts, our respect for the 3 jewels. We have practiced some meditation, and we listen to suttas, and we share our thoughts with one another. Remember this happy moment. This is your good mental karma. This is your good body karma, speech karma. By the power of all this good karma, may you all be well. May we all be well and happy. Remember all these good deeds before your meditation. It will help you to be calm and peaceful and to be happy. Also send your loving kindness to your loved ones, your friends, even those you have difficulties with, that they may be well and happy. And let us, with gratitude, bow to the 3 jewels for whom we are gathered together here. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.